Joining us now on Sports Talk ATL, a man that spent 5 years with the Atlanta Falcons organization, Chris Draft. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing?
I would say better than most, especially when it comes to especially as a Falcons fan, we've been talking about this for decades, literally decades, getting a guy, a star pass rusher, a premier pass rusher in Matthew Judon. They get him for a third-round pick yesterday. What did you think of the move?
It was a necessary move. I think when I saw it, it's almost like hopefully it plays out this way. It would be like when the Lakers needed Paul Gasol, and all of a sudden he got he became available when they needed a guy in as a center that was necessary for them to be able to compete. And I think with Trice going down, it was always the question. I think everybody at the draft party in the bins were like, we have to have an edge. We need an edge. We need an edge. And the numbers show that out. Like the Falcons haven't been back to the Super Bowl since Vic Beasley's, double-digit sacks in 2016. And it's necessary, right?
I mean, I think it's more than necessary. I think you really can't win anything in this league without – and it doesn't even have to be a top 5 pass rusher, but a guy that you can rely on in the waning moments, when you need a sack, you got to have one. And we haven't had one since Vic Beasley. And Vic Beasley made some people flash in the pan. John Abraham. And then before him, Patrick Kearney. And even then, John Abraham is about the only guy we can really hang our hats on. And it finally feels like we have a guy that, everybody in the league respects, and it's going to do wonders for this Falcons defense. And it's been not only a weakness for this entire offseason, even before the Trice injury. I was very adamant, this should have been a move with Braylon Trice. This should have been done even before Braylon Trice went down. I'm not going to complain that it happened afterwards, but I'm just super excited that it actually happened. Now focus turns to the secondary. I'm going to stick on Matthew Judon. I am a little surprised. I don't know if you've seen the news that he's going to play this year on the same deal that he was playing for in New England. A contract extension seems like it's in the best interest of everybody. Judon's 32 years old, coming off a season-ending injury. He gets some security. The Falcons get some security and a guy who's going to be here for multiple years. Are you a little bit surprised that they're not going to have a contract extension?
I would say I'm more worried about him just getting here, right? The idea that you can have contract talks where at one time you're saying we're not going to do anything, and then a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden there's a contract that gets done. I think the key right now is they need a player. They need somebody that can come off the edge. I mean, but in a way that it really makes this unit, this defensive line unit, something that is strong. So we got to be able to get pressure on the ball so the DBs don't have to hold up as long. Hopefully get some tip balls. I mean, that's what you see. It's not just the pressure on the quarterback that is just with sacks, but the pressure on the quarterback makes where the balls get thrown up a little bit early. That's where the DBs are able to sit on it. We'll probably see more interceptions. We'll see more tip balls. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Let's talk about expectations because, we have very optimistic fans. We have very pessimistic fans. The optimistic fans are like, this team right now, Matthew Judon, that's all the Falcons needed to get to a Super Bowl. And listen, I think it's a huge piece, right? But one, do you think it's enough to make this defense good enough to make them a real contender in the NFC? And do you think the Falcons are done? I mean, I look at this secondary, I'm like, there are plenty of holes. A second corner, even a third corner, even a fourth corner. We don't really know anything behind A.J. Terrell. And then DeMarco Hellams go down at safety. We've had Justin Simmons in there. Now, you add Justin Simmons to this defense after Judon. Now we're starting to talk. What do you think about the rest of this defense? And is Judon alone enough to make it good enough to compete with those top teams?
Well, again, when you're talking about competing, right? Definitely adding him is a huge piece, and I think a very obvious piece. I mean, literally, you're at the draft party. Everybody was saying we need an edge, we need an edge, we need an edge, and so I think all the Falcons fans understand that's a huge piece in terms of being able to compete. But I think the bigger part is just definitely have the people, but making sure those people are healthy, and then making sure there's backups that can step in. And I think so that's always the question, and just in terms of football in general. And that's why when you see teams that have success, they don't just have starters that are amazing, but they also have people behind them that if something happens, they can jump in and give you real quality reps so that you can continue to move forward.
Yeah. Speaking of high quality backups, I think the defensive front, the front seven in general, this is one of the best front sevens I can remember. I mean, and obviously with Judon that helps, but the second level, has got incredible depth. Obviously, Caden Ellis is one of the better inside linebackers that nobody really talks about in the NFL outside of Atlanta. Big expectations for Troy Anderson coming off of a season-ending injury. Obviously, you have Nate Landman step in for him. He did some valiant things. And then you got a guy in Bertrand who's a rookie who's going to give you some quality depth as well. You, former off-ball linebacker. Talk about some of those guys. Talk about what you like. Caden Ellis is a versatile piece. Will add to some of that pass rush like you mentioned. But we've only got 2 spots. We've got 3 starting caliber linebackers. Good problems to have.
That's a great problem. Great problem. I mean, you want competition. You've got guys that they got a lot of experience. And I think, unfortunately last year, not being able to put points on the board, right, made it where so much of the focus was on the offensive side. And when the defense in a lot of the games played good enough, they played well enough to win games. I mean, that's with Grady Jarrett being hurt most of the season. So, Grady coming back, I think we haven't talked about him really coming back after that injury in a way that he is Grady. Now, he looks amazing. He looks strong. He looks big. But is he ready to be able to really play the way we need him to play? But then the other part is, are the backups ready to go? Where he needed his breaks anyway. He needed to be able to take a break where somebody else is able to come in and pressure the quarterback too. So I think, when you look at the defense as a whole, last year they really weren't that far off. I mean, it's just we couldn't score enough points to be able to put those games away. And so I'm excited about the balance that is necessary to be able to win games. And that's where when you look at teams that have won historically, It's not about just dominating on defense, but being able to dominate. Really the game plan looks very similar. It's a strong running game, a lot of play action pass. It is playing strong defense with a front seven that can get those front 4 really in terms of defense line that can get pressure on the quarterback, strong linebackers that got a little nasty in them, DBs that go and get the ball. I mean, like you can see it coming together along with special teams play that are able to make plays, have some explosiveness there where you can make plays. Yeah.
Chase and I talk about college football all the time. And one guys we talk about a lot, Lincoln Riley, has never really played complimentary football. And it feels like to a lot of average fans, that's a forgotten aspect of every successful team. The greatest quarterbacks of all time always had a little bit of help. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, those Chiefs defenses that are helping him to the Super Bowl are often forgotten because Patrick Mahomes is so sexy. He does all these great things, but you're so right. And I think, when you're talking about this Falcons team, this offense, I'm a pessimistic Falcons fan at heart just because I've probably been hurt too many times before. But I am incredibly optimistic about this Falcons offense. I think Drake London has all the tools, and now he has a good quarterback throwing him the football. Drake London is going to be a household name, not just in Atlanta, but all over the country. Kyle Pitts is back. He's healthy. The offensive line is returning all 5 starters. Very, very important. I think this offense is going to be a top 10 unit. And if everything works out, if Zach Robinson is all everybody he's cracked up to be, this could be a top 5 unit. This defense, like you mentioned, if it's just average, we're cooking. I mean, this is a seriously competitive team.
I mean, and this was a defense before, as you mentioned, Grady's injury. They were borderline top 10, right? Yeah. And now you add Judon to the mix. I think the biggest thing, and we've talked about it a lot, this offense, and I want to hear your opinion on it, is Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake. Like the biggest differences in last year's defense and then 2 years ago were the free agent additions, and that's, Terry Fontenot going out and having an eye for pro talent. But this is a team that hasn't drafted and developed many players at all, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Can Jimmy Lake and Raheem Morris had a lot of success with 2 third-round picks last year that were rookies. Can he develop those guys and get those guys not playing like rookies later in the season? That would be huge for this defense.
Yeah, that's a great question. But I think more we're looking at balance. So the question is, what are you asking them to be able to do? So if the offense is able to run the ball, and then, if I want to know, where is the excitement on the offenses? If we just go back and watch film and we say how many open players, right, were missed. Balls where I mean, they were
Too
wide
many.
open, move the chains, keep it going. And, if we can see that translates to the defense being, healthier and fresher, and that changes the game too. So I would say that what we saw before it's harder to compare it, because what you're going to ask people to do is a little bit less, right? Definitely getting Judon out there, getting a little bit more pressure again takes the pressure off the guys, but also at the same time, if you're doing what's right on offense, getting the ball to Drake, to Kyle Pitts, and then with Bijan and Tyler, and I mean, if you're really using your weapons, the Falcons should play from a lead way more than they did last year.
Yeah, one last question, Penix. Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to know what you thought of Penix and his debut, Falcons debut. I was pretty impressed. I know it's just preseason, but you didn't really have your Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinsons out there. They let him sling a little bit. You saw the arm talent. You saw why they might have fallen in love. What do you think of it?
I think it's obvious he can throw the ball. I mean, he can sling the ball. I mean, we were watching. We had a Falcons Legends Day at the Dome for the practice, and it was obvious that he can throw. I think the biggest mark on him has just been his durability. It's not that he can't throw every ball out there, but can he make the decisions where he doesn't get hit, right? Where he doesn't expose himself. And again, we see that with a lot of young guys that they got to know when to get down and protect their bodies so that they can continue on playing. So that would be my only question mark for him, is really more of that. But his ability to throw the ball, whip it around the field, I mean, that's undeniable.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying it, and I got some backlash about this. He's the most talented quarterback this Falcons team has ever had, physically. Matt Ryan's the best quarterback in franchise history, bar none. It's not even close. But I'm just throwing the football. It comes out of his hands differently. Like I've only ever seen.
We did have Michael Vick.
I mean, I'm telling you, Michael Vick had an incredible arm, but like the touch that Penix can also have with it, like it's a full spectrum of throws that he could. I am so excited. He obviously isn't what Kirk Cousins is because he's just a rookie. I still want to see him play some football. And that's a problem with drafting a quarterback after giving Kirk $180 million. You got idiots like me who are like, all right, I want to see the rookie. I want to see him. He's just so exciting to watch. I can't help it.
He is. Well, he's definitely going to be exciting. I have to say, Mike is the most talented, and literally his arm. I with all my years in the league, there was no one that had a better arm than him. But at the same time, when you're talking about touch and being able to sling it around, that is a difference.
Yes,
that was something that he had to learn when he went to Philadelphia, when they coached him more and didn't just allow him to get by on talent, which was immense, right? But it is exciting. I would say it's exciting for Penix to be able to learn behind Cousins, and in doing that, be able to learn the system where when he does go in, that it'll be slower for him, right? Because that's how you get hurt. You get hurt when it's going too fast, and then you hold on to the ball, and next thing you know, you get hit. So hopefully, by learning the game behind Kurt, there's going to be some times where he has a chance to get in, but it also makes it where, again, you have this guy, you have this backup. Great teams have great backups. They have people that are, nipping. They're right there behind. They say, "Hey, if you slip up, I'm coming." And that's what you want. You don't want people to be comfortable, and that's not, from a quarterback to a linebacker to a D lineman to a DB to offensive line. You want guys feeling like that they have to compete, all throughout the week. So when they come on Sunday, it's not this big surprise that somebody is right there with them. They've been competing.
Yeah. I think the best thing that I've seen so far, it's been surprisingly smooth sailing. Like Penix has looked really good. Everybody said good things about Kirk Cousins. I think there was a lot of questions about how things would go. And maybe when they struggle in the regular season, things change. But so far, so good. I mean, I think as a Falcons fan, especially ones like me and you, kind of had questions how all of this will work. So far, I'm pretty pleased with how it's all worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more of a fan kind of feeling like, oh my goodness, are they going to just go after each other rather than more of a guy like Penix that the best thing he can do if he wants to take over the job is sit there and be a sponge and learn everything from Kirk Cousins. So there's no need to be in conflict. And I think and a lot of times there's not really conflict between certain players. It's just eventually the guy that's behind ends up just kind of taking a position.
Yeah, competition. I'm actually watching the Dynasty. I know I'm way behind, but I literally just started watching the Dynasty. So the whole Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe thing just got that. But Chris, thanks so much for taking some time to talk with us. It was really, really interesting.
Gotcha, man. Thank you guys. Rise up.
Rise up,
yes, sir. Rise up.